What's up guys, Kobo here, and this is part 1 of the final analysis. So you might have seen some of the group stage videos up on the YouTube. This is part 1 of the finals. Did this yesterday between some uni segments, so it's a little bit rushed towards the end, and there was a few hiccups with internet in the middle, but I've done my best to cut everything out and try and make it a smooth experience. Once again, I'll say this every time, this is basically a VOD from Twitch, so it's not a super polished video. It's just if you want to chill and look at a little bit of the games from the finals, get some input by me and by some other players themselves, this is where you want to be. Part 2 and part 3 will be coming up soon as well, and they're not done just yet because I haven't done them, so you can also catch those live on my Twitch. And as always, enjoy the video, and if you want to support me, PUBG creator code is probably the best way. Alright, this is where it gets nerdy, boys and girls. I think I'm going to look a little bit at Northern Lights because they were fucking dominant on the first day. I want to look a little bit at Ents, even though it's going to be painful, and at Polish Power. I think we can also always look at the winner. I think that should always be interesting. This is, by the way, this is super classic from Liquid. I also started liking the new PogChamp somehow. I don't know why. Not enough teams do this. Liquid does it a lot. I know, overpeakers, blah, blah, blah. Even in interviews, people call them Liquid. It's good. Pull up S4, leave teams there, instantly back out. A lot of teams do this with, or I think most teams would do this with 3. With 2 from here and leave 1 here anchoring all the time. So go 3 here, go 2 back, right? A lot of teams would do that instead. But Liquid does it with 4 here, which is fine as well. Biggest upset has to be Polish Power, right? I think it's hard to argue against that. I think Ents is a big upset, but not as big as... Exactly. Because they are one of the biggest upsets, Veilander, for me. I think if you're looking at this half of the leaderboard, it's Ents and Na'Vi, right? If you're looking at this half of the leaderboards, I'd say it's definitely Polish Power. And then you could say Win or Die is a bit surprising. You could say Northern Lights down here is a bit surprising. Other than that, it looks very, very normal to me. Like Woo, Win or Die, a little bit overperforming. Northern Lights, a little bit underperforming. Polish Power, definitely outperforming. Question mark is, for some reason, it's just nuts in the last tournament of the year every single time. So it's not a surprise that they do well here. Okay. Ents come in from the north. You feel like Na'Vi's underperforming? Yeah, for sure. That's why I said on the right side of the scoreboard. Na'Vi is hard underperforming. But Ents is a little bit harder. Nice, Meldon. I'm happy to hear that. Ents come in from the north. They take this split. If any northern circle happens, they're fantastic. And they have some info on what's happening south and west of them. So I think they're in a pretty solid spot here. But you probably have to be really, really ready for a circle 3 send, because you're not going to be... Still be in mess spots in the north shift. All right. Toffee Fit is a banger, Tuli. I just disagree. I just think I have to hard disagree. Like, of course, like an east shift is not great, but an east shift is completely fine because you have all the info on the fields. And any of these shifts, I think, are fantastic. It's so easy to play north from Garden as well. I will need further pushback from you, Stratos. Any compound south side, the road is way better. Well, it depends on the shift, right? But they're both taken. It's not like you're going to get them for free. I think the point of having two eyes forest is having the east info. You can also have an eastern shift, and then you're really happy about having two eyes forest. Because you know that the yellows are free, you know the wizard's free, you know that there's not a lot of people around the wizard, around liquid. Like in a shift like this, having forest is massive. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think that's why I think, what's up, Aduzi? The problem with this zone is that you have to send in phase 3, right? Which is why I think there's a good argument to make for having people on the north still. And having a 2-2 like somewhere here, right? Because if you don't get a good northern shift, you're still kind of pinned. I agree with that. That's why I said, in this split, you're still okay, but you have to send phase 3, which is not a good prospect. In the past, we've seen ends do things up here. And it worked out really nice for them in groups. Oreo, thanks for the follow. So I think, for example, having a split like maybe this or something could work. Polish power, 4-man in this compound. Okay. OP did this 3-1 split, which I think was really good for OP. Also, I'm not sure what Mexi's pre-driving there, but they end up taking the barn and they take 1 in Pachinki. I think this is really good from Liquid, from Overpeakers. And Ents gets this anyways, by the way. But they get it without info. So I'm not sure how they end up here. But I think this is exactly where you want to be in this zone. And then you can play in here. Right? And they get this for completely free. Now they know that this is free. And you can play like a 2 or like a 1-2-1 or something like that. I think everything in this circle is pretty uninteresting. Except Ents. Well, question mark's definitely interesting. Win or die? Oh, they're not green this time. Okay. I'll look at question mark because the dude is here. Oh, Mr. overpeaks here and dies. He dies to Polish power or something. Yeah. Actually, he doesn't overpeak that much. He just gets caught. I thought he was... I only saw this in the kill feed, and I thought he died like here. Yeah, you knock him, and Polish power flushes him. I only saw this in the kill feed, and I just assumed that he was like playing out here to try and get an angle on these guys or something. Dude, escape should cancel the drawing. It's so bad that it doesn't. It takes me... I just press escape every single time. Like, I think this is a solid play by Ents. It's an interesting decision from question mark. But what options does question mark have here, right? Nothing really. They killed one of Ents died, but this is still a shit push. You could 4-man fly into the garage or something, but it's terrible. This is not playable yet. It's a good play. I mean, a lot of teams would probably go to the dips here or something. But we know that question mark likes to rotate around the edges, so they go south edge. Look at Liquid. Look at Overpeakers. This is Fella's knock in Mexi, I think. Yeah. This is the interesting part. James goes into these trenches. I don't know why. Like normally people split stuff to either keep this free, right? Or to get more, like to have a different angle when someone crashes the barns. But none of that matters. You don't need to keep this free, right? Because if someone goes there, they get farmed next circle, right? So, or like, or the circle after. So why would you care about keeping this free? You don't get more info from it. And if a 4-man flies into you, sure, you can maybe kill them, but you might also just die. That feels weird to me. I'm not sure what the motivation here is. Something I don't understand. Because my brain too small. What the? Doozy's peeking this, and the rest of the team just drives in. Through the middle of Pachinki. That's crazy. That's aggressive. I like it. Like, what I'm thinking here with overpeakers is like, if Ascend come in here on the south and the dips are free and Ascend for some reason decides to take these dips, that's only good for overpeakers because you kill some of them when they drive out, right? So why are you trying to not let this happen? Are you hoping that you can push away ? And they drive through the field and you get kills that way? Spot gives audio about rotation south. So? Free kills on edge roaders? Yeah, but if someone... So... They do this in this circle, right? If a team rotates on the edge here... Easy to use my team as bait. Yeah, what's up, Strovik? If someone rotates on the edge here... and you shoot them, not only is there a chance they fly into you, there's also a chance someone in a Pachinki just beams you. Because you have to come out of your dip to shoot. Yeah, that's what I said as well, Tixu. Like, the one thing I can see is him peeking barns when they get crashed. But... you still have, like, a question mark here later. Who can completely beam his ass, right? I just don't think it's... I don't understand how it's worth the risk that someone flies into you and you die. Like, at this point already, if Ascend want to fly in, which nobody ever should, I know, but... What if it's like... this is already zone 4, damn. My brain so small. If it's like this zone or something, right? And people actually want these dips, I don't think you want to be here. That's what I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying I don't understand. He's ready to leave the dips. But, okay, this is what I'm saying as well. What's up, Jason? This is what I'm saying as well. Don't you like someone being in those dips? Don't you farm them later on when they have to drive back out of the dips, up the hill, into the open field? Right? Like, circle goes like this, this, whatever, right? Anything. What's up, Chins, by the way? What's up, Flatline? Why don't... Are you not okay with this? Like, what's this smoke line? You have 2 barns you can peek from between the barns. Okay. So my thinking was, you don't want to come... You're not mad about a team in here because you can farm them later on. You guys are saying it's not that easy to farm them. Then it makes sense. If you don't want people here, then this play obviously makes sense. What's up, Intense? What's up, Sticks? Thanks for the follow. Yeah, question mark kills one of Ents here. Scarf runs away. Ents is just losing players unnecessarily. And then this is crazy. Exalt flies into phase. Ascent flies into Exalt. Howl runs up to phase. Stardust runs up to Howl. Overpeakers pull up. What? Look at this. This is like last game of scrims and someone's fighting in Picado. It's fucking wild. Yeah. 1 team, 2 teams, 3 teams, 4 teams, 5 teams, 6 teams. And the rest of the map has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams. Chefx, danke für den Follow. Again, this kind of stuff. Nice emo, Cotton. This kind of stuff is something not a lot of teams do, I feel like. It's just like an overpeakers thing. Pull up, fully commit on this fight. Be ready to disengage, and then fully disengage it. Like, a lot of the times you'll see teams, like, have one guy run up and he tries to steal a kill, and maybe he gets a kill, maybe he dies, you know? Overpeakers are, like, way more bunched up together and coordinated in their shit. Sometimes I feel like James is just, like, yelling at them what to do, you know? He's like, pull up here, do this, I'm anchoring. Because he's the first one there, and he's also the last one there. And he's just, like, directing his minions around. Sometimes it feels like that. Polish Power go to clear the dips, which is a pretty standard play for a team out of that compound. Same like Sonics, a little bit, yeah. I think Sonics is less innovative, though. Sonics do less interesting stuff. They play a very normal, standard PUBG, in my opinion. How does Marslag die? Oh yeah, he gets tagged by Batulans, I think. No, not at all. He's just full griefing. He doesn't get shot a single time. What's going on, Marcelik? What's going on there? He does get shot, right? Marcelik. Marcelik. He probably DC'd. Maybe he was... I think he probably DC'd. It's still way more fun to pretend like he just went to get a car and couldn't get out or something. I don't know. I didn't see it. There's also something that you have to keep in mind. The observers don't want to show if someone crashed, right? It's PUBG paying them to observe the game, so they don't want to show crashes, so you'll miss a lot of them. This is very normal stuff from every team involved. It's a really good play from Northern Lights to go for this fight on question mark because they have nothing to play here. This is just bad. This is fully open, fully farmed by everyone in the circle, so they have to go for this fight. And they win it pretty convincingly until they don't, and 2 of them get knocked. They also leave Batu here behind to try and take the 3v1, but for some reason they can't get it, and they just get knocked instead. A doozy big man. If you were trying to market your game, you wouldn't be showing the crashes either. Guys, don't pretend like that's crazy. I thought Gedrox could maybe ruin the day of Northern Lights here, but he gets found. And this is pretty clean stuff, I think, from Northern Lights. They are in a terrible position here because the house is in, the roof is in, right? So they go clear the solo and go make sure they take that kill. And then Spyro probably sees this guy or something, I think. I don't know who does, actually. Oh, it's actually Overpeakers. Never mind. But yeah, because overpeakers have the roof, it's basically unwinnable for Northern Lights at this point. But it's also, there's not really a whole lot to talk about here for Northern Lights. They play out of their compound and they get very slightly aggressive towards starters to make sure they get these kills. And at the end, they have one decision to make, which is push ? And they do it. Overpeakers have some really interesting early game splits. With Jeems split off as a solo here in 2 different locations. And then they have a very simple game from here. I still don't fully agree on Jeems in the dip. I think it makes sense, but it also doesn't make sense. Blew up 2 on the roof, yeah. I think it went closer than it should have, in a way, considering they had roof. But yeah, it's just really, really hard. And ? I mean, ENCE just lost a lot of players for free. Which just killed their game. And now I think they even run out of here. They don't even have cars anymore. So they try to run out and get absolutely dominated. And ? Just goes around the edges, bullies ENCE, gets 4 points that way, and then takes a fight versus Northern Lights. So not crazy, nothing crazy coming out of those teams. The most interesting teams are definitely ENCE and ENCE ? When it comes to big rotations. When it comes to like small players, it's probably overpeakers. Smoke launcher, I think it would help. That my argument for the smoke launcher is it's not gonna change the game like crazy amounts. But it's just gonna help, right? It's gonna make a lot of stuff more interesting. It's gonna make compounds more crashable and stuff like that. I think it should be a thing. I think it should be in the game. And I think it would also just increase, like, make another skillful thing, right? Exactly. I think it helps against free compounds, which is great. I kind of... Nice, Twire, thank you. I kind of disagree with that. What's up, Crazy? Thanks for the follows, guys. Prey and Rian. Like, sure, a smoke launcher makes this push easier, right? Sure. Like, you smoke off this shit. And a 1-story that only has 2 windows to peek from is always going to be pushable. Of course. But, like, do you think... I don't know. I feel like... Do you think that people that get a bad shift should not get another tool to help them? I think, if anything, you'd want another tool to help them, right? Because then shifts matter less. What if, for example, what if this circle... That's a 5, right? Yeah. What if this circle... Oh, it's a 4, it's a 6. I'm so bad at this. What if this circle is like this, for example, right? And all they have is like 1 rock here. And then they can at least smoke launch off your 2 windows and try to smoke their way in. And you probably still farm them, and ? Still probably farms them, but at least they have a chance, right? And I don't think it's fair to say that you can't do anything. Because why don't, like, you can still play outside if they smoke off your windows. Right? Like, it's not like it just breaks the game for you. It makes it much easier for them. Even without. I don't know. It felt like it was doable. It felt like this is a doable hold because Northern Lights is gone, right? So you can play out here. I think you have like a tree up here too. And these guys are super busy. So like in theory, it feels possible. I know it's hard. I know it's easier to run and start pushing this. But it still feels possible. It's just Michael gets caught, then you get shot in the back. Right? Like, I understand it's hard. But I don't think a smoke launcher makes that impossible. I think that's just not how impactful it is. What's up, Marcis? And I still think it would change something in a good way, not in a bad way. All right. This is interesting. The early game is pretty interesting here around farm. I'm going to mark phase here. Seems to have some bad luck. It's just an ADR farmer who gets himself flushed all the time. I think it would be OP. I think it would be great. I think the rounds should be really, really heavy to make sure you can't spam. Questionable play from Na'Vi this game. This is pretty wild. That both of these teams like stay. Alright, I've been doing these twire streams every now and then. And not a lot of the times, and not very frequently. The amount of times I've seen Na'Vi lose 1 or 2 players here in this split, just 2-2 split, and losing these 2 players is way too many times. Yeah, I just don't want someone to be able to spam like 5 of them, Tiji. That's what I'm saying. Oh yeah, this is the interesting part. Overpeakers. Scout this. Oh shit. From the wizard. And they probably realize it's not going to be a lot of players here. So they full blind, like full crash. Phase instantly groups because Gustav is able to delay. And now Northern Lights backfill on this fight. And get South Farm for free, which is fucking massive for them. And FaZe is like a little bit sad about what just happened because now they're sitting in North Farm and have Northern Lights around them. Interesting. This was pretty good fights from Rue later on. Yeah, I mean, I see this a lot. I see this a lot from Na'Vi. Oh, what? Okay. They give this up for this. When next shift is water shift, right? So like the average circle is like this. And then it can go a little bit further east and it can go a little bit further west. In this circle, this is goated, right? And then in the worst case circle, this is like as bad as it gets. Don't you just play like into this, and then you try to make a play? What's your game plan from down here? Like send it to the ridge, play from the shack, play like this? I feel like this doesn't really add much to your chances. Because what's the difference? Like, what's the benefit from being here? You're closer to this, and you have, I don't know. That's it, right? It feels like even in the worst case circle, I would probably still play this from here. And when your edge is clear, you can have someone at the shack, and then you can start making plays on the ridge, right? Start making plays like to the south. I'm not sure what this adds to the table. Polish Power make really good, great decisions this game. All right. This is Stardust. Oh, they also can go back. And they don't. What? I didn't think they would get a chance. I thought you would just go in. What the? This is, by the way, I think I agree. Polish Power makes some good calls this game. Why did they stay south? I guess they think in their head it's easier to push this than to defend it. Which I would like some input on, because I feel like it's still better to be in there than to not be in there. Personally. But I mainly just think that this doesn't give you anything. Like, sure, you're getting space. But I think getting the space up to the north is way better. Nothing happens here, but Polish Power is interesting. Ents fly in here, get completely dominated. Polish Power crash this, aggress this, and then drive back out. Which I think is really interesting. If you just look at Polish Power here. They have Austrian Force here, they have Howl here, and they hear these drive-bys. But maybe, like, they know that this is two different teams, right? I think they killed one of Austrian Force or something? No? But they could know that this is two teams. But something changes their mind, where they run up on this. They start pushing it. And then they're like, fuck it, dude. Knock 2 on the north. Oh, I'm so blind. Yeah, of course. This is still kind of ballsy to just drive out of here. But it works out so well for them. It's so good. They clean up this last guy. Now Lazar's fully in the open. And they clean him up in the end. It's super good for Polish Power. And now they can take this fight if they want to, but they don't have to. It's super good. And this is the obvious move, right? Na'Vi now is in a really tough spot. Win gets completely naded here. Batulin's throw is like 17 nades. And Na'Vi tries to crash LT but get completely farmed. What happened to QM? You lost the 5 versus X ult? Okay. I just feel like in this circle and in this circle, the north compound is way better than the south compound. If the circle is like southeast down here, sure, this is good. But even then, it's still pretty possible to nade these dips and push them and drive by them and stuff. So I'm not sure what Navi's doing. And then again, Fades, Northern Lights is pretty standard play for a long time here. And this is where I thought FaZe was fully dead, right? And the one thing that I thought had a chance, yeah, exactly, Leos. He threw like 15. And I was like, what's up, Orumavizi? And I was like, Batulin's just threw like 8 nades on these guys. Like, they have nothing left for FaZe. But remember that Na'Vi crashed them? I think Spyro loots example here. And somehow, I think he even loots more. And somehow they end up still having like 5 nades or something for FaZe Clan. And Spyro has this off angle. And you're like, goddamn, there is 0 chance that FaZe does anything here. One of them gets naded on the approach. Gustav gets knocked while nading, insta-flushed. And you're like, well, this is over, right? Spyro just has these guys. There's 0 chance for FaZe. And then Spyro just like doesn't see anything. And Diggory turns around and knocks him here. I think that was crazy. The fact that Diggory gets this knock, that he even looks there, is wild. And then they kill Perfectix. Petulance gets knocked versus Polish Power. This was really cool as well. I actually listened to the comms here. They get this knock. And they hear this fight with Lou versus PP. And Gustav calls that this is going to be free. So Fex runs in and takes it. Which is really like nice, really nice backseat information. But obviously it makes so much sense, right? It's like super easy for us to see. And it makes a lot of sense for Gustav to realize as well. But it's still nice info. And then it's a Groza, I think, on Lou. And they trade it out. The big play in this game from Northern Lights is the Circle 1 play. Right? This play. Hearing this crash and recrashing the south side instantly. Also, look how coordinated this is. This is pretty nice. Instantly driving further, instantly looking for South Farm. No one pulls up, no one parks, no one has to look, you know. It's so quick and effective. It's super nice. How did we not die up here? I'm going to very quickly look at that. Surviving private red zone. Yeah. Oh my god, win or die gifted. Yeah. Pretty simple game until this circle where you're completely fucked, right? There's a lot of the times the East teams and the South teams are just completely wrecked in this circle. Big thanks for Stardust, yeah. Oh, did you bully Stardust out of here? No. You just killed them at the end, okay. I thought they maybe left the compound, but no. Yeah. Interesting. I mean, top 3 teams or top 4 teams get decided in phase 1. Not phase 1, but 2 of them get decided in phase 1, and then Polish Power makes a really good play to get in there. But the big Polish Power play is the one where they leave the yellows, right? Where they realize this is the fight we want to take. This is not the fight we want to take. That's where they get themselves a top 4. And a little bit questionable for Navi, for sure. So Ali, a little bit questionable. But still, I think reasonable, to be honest. All right, get ready, guys. This is the last good Northern Lights game. Which game is this? They're staying in gas station? Oh, okay. That's what you mean. Oh, yes. They love bridge camping, Leosh, for some reason. They do it. They do it again. I mean, you saw that for sure, where they did it versus Ascend, right? And they got super punished for it. I think this is wild. When you have this. And you had this earlier. And you're sitting here. I just don't think that's worth it at all. Yeah. They know that phase is gone. But, like... as soon as circle crashes, they should even, like, look and see if the car leaves. You have this all free, and you're sitting here. I think that's a big mistake. I agree. This is why it's kind of annoying that we don't have unlimited time, because it would be nice to look at every single team, right? It would be nice to look at every single team in the lobby and figure out what they do and have a look at what decisions they make and stuff. It would be super interesting. This is the game where Aduzi gets full ratted. Oh, did Quizzy silent in this? He must have. And then Aduzi comes in later and just gets the surprise of his lifetime. We should have taken Aduzi comms the moment he gets shot. I think Betulins is trying to beat over Pikas to it. There's so much to look at. There's so much going on. I think over Pikas, look where they end up. It's so interesting too. Just look at the blue dots, right? Look at their first circle rotation. Jeems goes early to the yellows. Scouts Everest. The team pulls up Everest. They want to go up and down. Maybe they see Betulins. Maybe he probably shoots. They take Liquid Compound. They see Gatka's free. They bounce from Gatka to Observatory to the swamp. Like, this is where they end up. Through, in between multiple teams. Good rat. Can't do this again. Do you think they knew that you were gonna go there? No. They just wanted to secure the compound. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's pretty wild from over Pikas. It doesn't work out at all though. But it's still crazy to me. Masterleg super early on Everest for Polish power. I really like this. Batulin scouts Gatka for the team. The team is probably gonna go at least to the yellows here. Yeah. And they come back. Okay. I think this split is super interesting. Just because they came here through so many different teams. Scary stuff for FaZe. It's hard to get into this side of the circle. It's also kind of ballsy from Exalt. They're not really respecting the FaZe crash that much. Standard stuff kind of from QM. I would have probably thought about leaving a guy edged still and play this with two. Have a guy up here and have two in here, for example. For all the south and north info that you can get. Or at least have, I don't know. I don't like this, to be honest. I think this is a little bit like passive, right? Don't you like a guy here and a guy here or something? So you know when, you know, for example, if Hospital leaves and then you can play this. You know what's happening a little bit in South George. Some of it, maybe. You know what's happening down here. Finish first. Let's go, dude. This feels super passive. We knew fellas in front of us. So you, like, wanted to be careful because it was fellas? Or you just... I just feel like in this zone, right? There's a reasonable chance that someone comes in here. Maybe even here. And it's just nice to have the information. Okay. So you knew they were 2-2. I see. Makes sense. Okay. So you're just waiting for this group up. I just thought it would be nice to see this group up and to see a little bit more around it. Yeah. Navi gets completely dominated here. Who's interesting to look at here? I think Overpeak is... yeah. I sort of remember a lot of things that happen here. Polish Pilot loses to Solo in the shack. Fellas come back here, which I think is pretty cool. From the fellas to send 2 guys back in this dip with 2 guys overwatching. Just as a reaction to question mark being here. And they try to get some of these kills, but they can't. I think it's one of the hardest positions to play down here. Down on Everest is so hard to play. You have to be so careful about when people peek from the top and where they peek from. Or if someone wraps on you at the bottom, right? If someone makes a play like this. It's so hard to not die and to not lose people. Ascend throw this. Ascend throw this pretty hard, yeah. What's up, all saying? Ascend throw this pretty hard. Overpeakers fly into... this is really interesting as well. I'm not sure what happens here. Maybe Clib is playing for a rat or something, or it's a mistake. I'm not sure. But 3 of Overpeakers fly into the woo here. But Clib doesn't. So I'm not sure if the plan is that he's the rat and he plays for position, or if something fucked up. I don't know. Can they hear? They can't hear these cars, right? Yeah, it's weird. Not sure. Maybe they thought that Wu had already left. Or they think there's max 2 here. And they think that they can maybe, like, pinch. What if they pull up here with 3 and then Clip pushes from here, right? And they kill Northern Lights? That actually seems like a good off angle to have. So maybe that was the plan. What's up, old saying? Oh, I just said that. I'm really good, man. I don't have a whole lot of time. I thought I was going to do the first 6 games, but I think I'm going to do 3 until I have to go back to uni. It's just so much to look at. There's so many different teams that are super interesting. What's up, Mazirs? 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 I don't know how to pronounce that. Yeah, this is a standard pull-up from question mark. You can see Exalt is kind of scared to push this, because they don't know when Win is going to overpeak and when Northern Lights are going to overpeak. Now Northern Lights overpeak. And now this is super nice for Northern Lights. It's nice for whoever wins this fight as well. But it's just super nice to be coming up as the last team and having your back clear. Because if you're not the last one that's coming, it's always so awkward. You're never sure if there's teams around you and what's going on. What are you studying in uni? IT, programming, that kind of stuff. Software engineering is what my master is called. Study PUBG. I wish. And now this is like super nice for Ascend, but it's still... I would way prefer being this team than being this team, because you never know like when someone, even if it's not Howl, right? Even if it's just Stardust walking up, right? Or it's just a random solo that you forgot about down here or something. Nerd stuff? Yeah. Nothing Saga would know about. Yeah. This is where Gusiara gets a Molotov in the face. But still. At this point, right? Northern Lights lose 2 here. Good utility from Win or Die. It's 4 of Ascend. It's 3 of Foot. 1 of Stardust. It's looking like an Ascend win. It's looking like Northern Lights are done. But they get this top for free. And then ascend lose 2 for this, which is the key moment in their game. I don't know what happens to Chris here. I don't know if he crashed or if they just left him on purpose. They probably left him on purpose so he can hold. But then Mika drives back, tries to get him. Chris gets shot out instantly. Mika gets shot out right at the end. And just like that, they're in the middle of the circle with 2 up. 2 here, 2 here. And it becomes a really, really hard game. Exactly. They know that as well. Literally, Breck said that to me. Like, they know that they should have never done it. Yeah. This is, like... And now, this is so cool as well. Question mark get completely dominated here. Dante gets close. Batulins hears him. And only baits. Only waits. Only waits. Only waits. Just for until Lou can peek over. Lou is like super careful about someone being here or about someone peeking him from here. But he's like trying to get the angle. He's trying to get the angle. He finds him, knocks him. 2v1. Super easy. Now they know he's down here. So they can just wait. They can just wait. And then Lou kills him from top. But they just take 0 risks. Batulins doesn't take the fight. He just calls it out. Waits for Lou. Waits for Lou. And it's a free game. Yeah. They know that as well. They just fucked it up. They were just like, oh, we can save him. And then they couldn't save him. And now the NLT show stops. Now they start trolling. I'm just going to look at some of the teams that I think are interesting. Okay, fellas are interesting in this game, in my opinion. There's something to learn here. They land Oasis, and they get an Oasis circle. And they fully leave it, right? And I was like, in my head, I was like, what if it actually goes Oasis, right? They're gonna be mad about this. They're gonna hate this, right? They leave Oasis, and it comes back. Question mark takes the west. FaZe takes northeast as always. FaZe and Na'Vi are usually around these areas here. Northern Lights classic standard stuff. Players unknown battleground. It really was, yeah. Win is pretty passive here. It's still nice. Circle's always the same. No. I've seen circles, TG, without land ratio on this, where it didn't work. It was weird. This is crazy, right? Like, look how far this circle went off the map. This is the full circle. This is how far off the map it went. It's crazy. But now look at fellas, and we're going to stop looking at them afterwards. They just have a really easy send now because of the new Oasis, right? They just go straight the fuck in. And it's no problem at all. They don't... Exactly, that's what... I know. I understood the pun, Waylander. Don't worry about it. And it's super free and super easy. So that's why they left it first circle. Because they were like, nobody... If you're thinking realistically... Nobody is going to take Oasis first circle, right? People are going to take stuff around the edges. Sometimes you'll see a team here. You'll see people on these mountains. This is not playable at all now. You used to see people here all the time. It's not really playable now. So you'll see teams like around the edges. But you don't really see anyone sending it first circle because why would you? And when teams come in, they usually come in this way, right? They come in through the north and scout their way in like a question mark rotation. So it makes complete sense to leave it up and to leave it and make that rotation later on. Okay, we don't have to look at win in this game. Or NLT, for that matter. Overpeakers are pretty interesting. They come in super late, pretty late into a phase 2 that has just popped, right? They come in, they look a bit at zone 1, they look at what's free, they get a lot of information from here, they see tons of this stuff is free, and they're ready to commit on something. But circle 2 is crazy. Oh, foot get camped here by Wu, right? Yeah. Wu sets up a road camp here for foot, which I think is interesting. But we barely called that on stream. They only kill 1, which is a bit disappointing. And then they almost kill Iroh after. Which is also kind of crazy. But he manages to hide out and they leave. Anyways, overpeakers, ready for zone 1. It goes hard away from them. And I think most teams would go for ascend, which is exactly what you see right now, right? You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams in sending right now. You mean these, right? I have no idea, Kova. No clue. No clue. So they know everyone just sent it. And they know that a lot of this is taken. They see Polish power. They see Win or Die. They see the Wu driving past. James even goes over here to scout some of this edge. And Kranführer Ronny. Kranführer. What's up? And they like scout all of this. And now this is the hard part, right? Setting up like this and scouting is not the hard part. But then making the decision on where you actually want to end up is not that easy. But they realize that Win and LT are fighting. And they pull up on this fight. And they kill Win. But they also manage to kill Northern Lights here. Because they get the knock on Lu. And they're like, this guy super split. Let's go kill him. And they both get knocked out of the car. But Clip gets a nasty turnaround on Batulins. And James kills Spyro. So they go from this to one of the best spots in the circle. Or a good spot in the circle with like 7 kills or something. Which I think is pretty cool, right? Just by taking their time, not panicking, scouting. And then finding the right opportunity at the right time. That's super cool. FaZe only made 2 rotations on the game. That's how a lot of PUBG games go. That's really how a lot of PUBG games go. FaZe and Na'Vi are not super interesting in this game. Wu takes some good fights. In this game, Wu took a lot of... Oh. Internet dropping. 1KS. We good? I'm gonna reduce my bitrate a bit. Something's fucky. We buffering? Are we back? Something's messed up with my internet, guys. I'm sorry. That's a problem. I think we're stabilized. Hopefully. Okay. Just German internet, guys. Not much I can do about it, I think. Yeah, Wu took a lot of good fights in that quarry game as well. But again, nothing here is super interesting. I don't know what to do, boys. This is fucked up. It keeps like dipping down, even though my internet's fine. I think it's like, I don't know, something with OBS. I shouldn't have updated probably. Because my other PC is completely fine. It's just my streaming PC is dropping. I don't know if I can even blame German internet. Ante, you might be in for a bad time. All right, I'm gonna pretend like it's all fine, okay? Anyways, Na'Vi just stay on the north. FaZe just stay in their buildings. Everything is pretty damn normal. Wu made a good move here. Into the middle. With a lot of them around them free. Polish Power take the shack here. And they get cleaned by fellas. This is a rough time as well for Foot. Because they get sort of shot in the back by Nuki. In like the middle of the fight. And it completely ruins it. But Odomavizi gets some nice kills. Because honestly, Austrian Force did pretty much troll this. I think they forgot to add the cliffs, maybe. Or they forgot to remove them on the map. Yeah. So, Na'Vi plays this really well. Oh man, I just hate seeing that thing in OBS turn red when your connection is dropping. Na'Vi played this well, don't get me wrong. It's just nothing super interesting about it. They just wrap the north side. They just find their way in. They have the solo in the shack, and when he leaves, they have a wall in between him and them. So he kind of ruins them a little bit. But this kind of comes down to FaZe just being the last team to fully engage in the fight. Because they just have these buildings for a very long time. And then they win their fights at the end. 8C gets 3 kills with 7 enemies left or something, and that just decides everything for them. So if you look at the mid and early game from FaZe Clan, there isn't a whole lot to look at here. Right? This is a very standard FaZe split in Circle 1. And as soon as FaZe 2 pops, they commit to Oasis. And from there, they win the game. Na'Vi wrap on the north. They do this very often and have a good game. It's interesting to see how Question Mark died here. Nice. Nice one. It's interesting to see how Question Mark died here because I feel like they have a pretty good spot to play in from. Ah, I remember. Yeah. They take the north here and then they have to send it past Fellas. And Fellas does a really cool thing here in a second. Fellas has actually 2 good plays this game that are actually really interesting to look at. They move out on this. They hear this send, which doesn't only mean there's a fight here, it also means the South team just left. So this is a pretty easy run out, right? If OP was still here, you could never run this. So they run out, they third party, they get like 1 kill out of it. But Question Mark leaves and they have to make sure that they don't crash Tixu. So they instantly run back. And a point is a point. And now again, similar thing. They're still sitting here. But they're taking both sides of the road just because they can. And they try to hold Polish Power out here. And somehow it works pretty well. Probably because Wu is supporting as well. Who's Fella's IGL? I think it's a pretty mixed thing. And here, Polish Power need to move in. Fellas have something on the south side of the road. Instead of taking a 4v4 versus Na'Vi, they're able to take a 4v2 versus Polish Power because they left themselves both options. And now they have a chance to kill the Wu, but they get completely naded. This would have been a winnable fight, but Wu just beats them. Wu's just better in that situation. All right, we got to speed it up, boys. Have you realized how often Question Mark is at the top here? How consistent they are? They are possibly the most consistent team in this lobby. We're looking at Northern Lights every game because it's so interesting how they completely dropped off. This is a banger, by the way. We should win this game. Yeah. Yeah. Reasonable thing to say. I think Ascend should win this game in the end game. He's the IGL. I think Tixu definitely has a lot of input, yeah. So Ents, solid spot. Wu, really solid split. Overpeakers with Bigfoot. Stardust with Castle and the Hill. A lot of really good spots. Question mark on a really good spot here if they 2-2 this. NLT come in on the edge. Batulin's obviously lol. Navi full crash this. Weird. Does that feel like a little bit rushed to everyone else? Aren't you like okay with what they had? Like sure, if this is free, you take it, but if the map isn't bugged, which I think it is, by the way. Maybe it's not. Why is this guy down here? There's no way this guy's down here. That must be like a bug where he's actually in here and he's in here or something. Or he's in here and he's in here. So they would be in the concretes. So they think that Navi thinks it's free or something. Still a interesting crash to me. All Knights have Austrian force in front of them. Overpeakers get completely railed in this rotation. Yeah, so the map is still bugged. Miramar map is still bugged. Overpeakers is like in either in this dip or in this dip, but they're not on the road here. They're like here. Rip. A doozy. You're in the warehouse here, right? You're here. You're not out on this ridge, outside of the fence. There's just no way. Yeah, it's still bugged. Unfortunate. Interesting. So Maslak said in the interview that Polish Power wanted to go here, but they never really get there. Like, they never even get close to it. Is that a possible fix? I mean, they fixed something. They tried something. It just hasn't worked for this. It used to be north-south, like, bugged, right? Now it's west-east bugged. But yeah. I think this is pretty solid from Northern Lights. It's just now it becomes really hard. What do you do? Do you pull up this? Do you pull up here and try to take a fight? The compound's almost not in anymore, so do you really want to fight it? This compound's hard to crash. So like, what do you do in this circle? And this is usually where you're like, oh my god, what a genius play. Their play here is just to pull up on the plateau next to the shack and they just get dominated. Did a doozy troll? Oh, we got naded. Don't have info. But even if there isn't someone in the shack, what happens if there's people here and then Phil first has to move, right? Like if you can push them, or I mean, they can't really do much against you while Phil first is here, right? But in a few seconds, Philford has to move, and then the North Ridge just kind of kills you, no? Or is this like actually playable? Failed with my car? Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, okay. So you have this dip and this dip, right? Yeah. So you can be safe. I think all of this is pretty standard stuff, right? Foot and Ascend are fighting for the south. And Foot Ascend actually win this. Question mark play where you usually play. Ascend just kind of throw this because they don't realize that Polish Power can play here. It's pretty interesting because Polish Power said we only realized we could play this when Northern Lights pulled up here. So like Polish Power didn't know they could play here, but they realized when Northern Lights pulled up that they could play there, and then Ascent also didn't know that you could play there. Which shows you a little bit that not, you know, every map knowledge is perfect even at this level. Stardust tries to go clear Exalt, which I think is good, but they lose, which is really bad because they like don't trade. If you look at this fight, it feels pretty free. It's a 3v2, right? They're aggressing it. And then they peek over and they get the first knock, but they get third partied. So the guy gets shot low from question mark, falls back, but Celtic goes for the 1v1 and loses it. So if Celtic would have maybe tried to just chill, because his teammate was low, maybe it would have been an easy clear. But it cost them a guy and it cost them the edge. So now they just have to sit down here and chill. This guy's probably in the shack, right? I don't know. No, I mean, these positions seem like kind of accurate, so I'm not sure. No, they're not accurate at all. What the fuck? These guys died on the road, right? Akiliakai died on the road. I think both of these guys died here. So it's not accurate at all. So this guy is in the shack. Yeah. And now it's a 3v3v2. And it feels like you should win this, to me. Like, Stardust is a bit of a problem, but I still think low ground is nice here. Because Polish Power has to run onto this plateau, and you can peek around them, no? But you just, one of you gets knocked. I think it's Dante who gets knocked first, and then the nades come in. Oh, Dante overpeaked so hard. What? Dante overpeaked so hard. He was like in the middle of the road. Norkiz shot him like 15 times with Mini because he whiffed a lot of shots and still knocked him. It's actually a pretty big mistake from Dante. And then Polish Power cleaned it up. Krunio kills this guy full blind, by the way, with the Groza. Alright, we gotta speed, guys. I have like 5 minutes left. This is my alarm ringing. You gotta race. Classic North Chuma circle. Yeah. This is one of these games where usually NLT will dominate. Because they have so much info and so much space in zone 1. Navi is super passive. Overpeak is with a nice split. Question mark are going to be far on the edge. Phase, nice info, get in slowly. Everything pretty normal so far. Navi get aggressive on Howl because they do this because they already saw one of Howl die earlier. They killed one of Howl here. So they know that this is a solo and they know they can get aggressive on it. This is why they die early here. They crash on Polish Power. And Polish Power full commits. And fully shit on him. Because you know if Northern Lights is crashing you, you know that Batulin is on this rock, right? So you can take the 4v3. Strong fight from Polish Power. Overpeak his group. Oh, this is this game. Yeah, okay. This is a pretty classic thing you'll see that sometimes fails, but very often works really well, is go up here in this zone And if it shifts north, which I think it in this zone it almost can't anymore, you're always happy. And if it shifts south, you should have a lot of information. And in this case, the information is, well, GMT is free. FaZe do the same from up here. They realize gas station is free. Fellas do the exact same thing, but they're a little bit later than question mark, so they don't get this full free compound. But very often it's still not bad. Because you see splits, you see what teams are doing, and in the worst case, you end up at the shack, which is usually bad, but can sometimes work. And now starts the good plays from fellas, because Stardust griefs. One of these guys gets knocked here and flushed, and this guy gets knocked and flushed. And now fellas know it's 2 up from Stardust. We don't want to be here. We want to be here. We fly the hell in. So they wait if they can get some kills here, and then they crash this 4-man. Just super nice. And, oh, this is actually funny. FaZe was doing the same thing. But they realized that fellas are in there, and they don't want to recrash. Huh. I don't know if that's even good. I wonder if that's a good reason to recrash. I don't like this from FaZe at all. I think it would be better to recrash this fight while it's going crazy. What's up, Cena? Like, when would they arrive? They would be arriving, like, now. I would rather do that than go here, personally. But they don't know circle. Oh. They don't know what circle's gonna do. I still think I would recrash that, to be fair. Now they just pull up into QM, and they're stuck at the shack between 2 teams. Between fellas and QM, and I feel like you just always get naded. It's so easy to nade that shack. And there's so little cover around it, like basically nothing. We know that I try to take a fight versus Austrian Force, and they kind of stay alive, but they're kind of dead in the water here very soon. So they have to come down from this ridge, and then they have nothing to play. But overpeak is stay true to their name and completely overpeak this. They hear this car, I think. Yeah. And they just want to go get these kills. But one gets knocked. And now Leo's just there to knock another one or flush one. Mexi gets knocked in the compound. And it just wasn't worth it in the long run. I feel like it would be pretty possible for overpeakers to just play out on this ridge. Because in very many circles, this is like a 6, not a 4. In very many circles, like, you'll have enough space here to play for this team to move before you leave your building. What's up, Crimson? And now they actually get cleared by when I die. And then you play out of here, like, even if fellas are here, I think you can still pretty comfortably play out of this. Nice try, Crimson. And this is basically 4v4v2. This should always be question mark favored, I think, because win or die is way more dangerous for Polish Power and way more distracting for Polish Power. But Polish Power take a fight, they take it quickly, and they win it quickly. And question mark doesn't really... Yeah, Polish Power get the res, but question mark just barely in time. They figure out that, like, they can punish this. And they punish the solo. And now Norcus gets knocked on the south, Master gets caught on the north, and they just clean it up. I'm sorry I had to speedrun this last game, but I have to get to uni. It's starting in 8 minutes. All right, boys and girls. Thanks everyone for watching. Sorry it was so short. I'll see you again tomorrow, longer, for the other 12 games.